is how they open their 2026 campaign.
All right, a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You know, Michael, I think you missed the biggest highlights of last night's game. There were 4 at-bats for Judge in which he struck out on the way to the Yankees winning 7-0. How do you skip over those highlights?
I missed was it platinum sombrero moment?
It was, no, that was he took the golden sombrero, but he was close. He swung at the first pitch in at bat number 5, grounded out. But there was no way he was going to be like, let me work the count here.
No.
Let me get deep into the count and really see a number of these pitches here. It was, I see a strike. I am swinging first pitch. I don't care if I go 0 for 5. I'm just not going 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. Not taking that. I'll take the golden sombrero, but I ain't taking the platinum or whatever you want to call it sombrero 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. And he just continued his World Baseball Classic run.
I'm thrilled. He knew that Sterling drafted him, and so fantasy baseball.
That's what you get for taking a Yankee,
yeah,
you dummy.
And I'm the biggest Yankee hater.
Sell out.
It's me. I'm the dumbass.
You're the one.
Hi, it's me. I'm the dumbass. It's me. That's the Taylor Swift Sterling edition.
Yeah, and it's odd because you used to always spend your first pick on Jeter back in the day.
Never would.
Yeah, because you always got defensive
Well,
points.
I don't have to care about defense, I guess. So, yeah, it makes more sense.
Yeah. Who would, I mean, I would say who would be the number 1 overall pick in teams of, like, there are some, let me start over. 3, 2, yeah. There are some leagues that may have Shohei Ohtani counting as both, that you can use him as a hitter and a pitcher.
Dumb. Ours is separate. Split. You can do the pitcher or the hitter.
Yeah, and so that would be the number 1 pick, obviously. But if you got points for both,
yeah.
If like somehow they came up with defensive points, I don't even know how you would do that.
Then Bobby would probably
be number 2. But Bobby might be number 2 anyway.
Yeah, he was I think 3rd in ours.
Thing, yeah.
I think it was Judge. I was 1. I had Judge 1.
You picked Judge first over the MVP of the 2026 Major League Baseball season? You fool.
Well, the issue was we value home runs too much.
Bobby's going to have more home runs than Aaron Judge this year. Bobby's the best human baseball player in the world. I will stand by that. I will not back off that. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Fact or fiction?
That is
fact.
A fact. He is the best human baseball player on this planet. That's from this planet. Okay? So there you go. 913-912-4810. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes. Michael Darcia. Heading up until 2 o'clock. An hour from now, we'll talk with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. And a nice little treat today from Kent. Kent's going to hang out with us in studio today.
Yeah.
How about that, huh? Only time I ever get to hang out with Kent Swanson is either at Sunday Sound Off or in a media soccer match when I'm swinging and missing at the soccer ball and then falling into the net. This is the only time I get to hang out with Kent Swanson.
You know what? For as good as this show is at other sports like basketball, I feel like we are a fairly athletic.
I agree.
By the way, the bar is not high for athletic radio hosts.
But we're still there.
We're still up there. In town, we're still up there.
This is the most athletic show.
Low bar, but we
100%.
we cleared it.
100%.
Soccer is one where we are very bad at. We
Toast.
are Darcy. I hope you're a good soccer, at least adequate, because
I bet Darcy could play some defense. He's okay to body some dudes up, man. He's a bigger, wider guy. I bet Darcy. You play a little soccer back in the day, Darcy?
I did actually.
Yeah,
See, there you go.
That,
Were you defense?
No, I was offense.
You were a striker? Forward?
Wow.
Look at you, badass. So there we go. We've got the soccer with Michael Darcia.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got a little. So we've got it taken care of then.
This is
So yes, it's obvious. This
3-on-3 soccer, full pitch. Go out there. We're yakking, but we're gonna.
This is clearly the most athletic sports radio show in town.
Clearly,
There's no other way.
low bar, but we cleared it.
Yes,
someone has to be.
Because now we get soccer with.
It's always the producer.
Michael.
We had Dylan. We're like, yeah, Dylan, thanks for baseball. Thanks for being
Yes.
and then now we have Darcy.
So I mean, we would throw Dylan on the mound in baseball, and we'd be good.
yeah, we're doing the old Satchel Paige where
Yes.
we sit down, where he's like, all right, you guys sit down. I'm going to strike this guy out.
Just striking dudes out, man. That'd be left and right, dude. And you and I obviously will take care of the basketball part of it.
Of course.
That's pretty obvious. Football part of it, I think, will be fun, especially with also Michael
Yeah.
Darcia. Michael.
All right, we got
Michael.
it. We nailed it.
Michael.
Is that how we're saying? Michael Garcia now.
There's an emphasis on the first syllable, on Michael.
Okay. It's going to take us a long time to get Michael Garcia now.
No, it's Michael.
Michael.
Okay. Not your cool or even our cool. You better believe it's Michael.
Okay, so M. Garcia is going to have a great year at third base. I'll pull a grunny here and just...
Do it. So Kent Swanson, speaking of that, will hang out with us at 11 o'clock. Ooh, and Kent Swanson could be part of this show. There's our football quarterback. Done and freaking done. We're killing it, dude.
Yeah, we're good.
We are killing it on this one, man. Because we get, and you know, because we're not going to count podcasts. Sorry, we're just talking about just the radio shows. Because podcasts, that'd be a little bit different. That's going to be tough because there are some
athletic
podcasts
people
that have former athletes and stuff like that. But he'll be our quarterback. That's awesome. He comes in at 11 o'clock, and we'll hang out with him for the hour. Another little treat from Kent Swanson. And then we'll have some sports or leisure today in the 1 o'clock hour, and it is opening day, sports or leisure for Royals. So we get some Rawls baseball questions opening day. We still have a number of tournament questions left from last week that we'll get into as well. So those are the categories today for sports or leisure, 913-912-4810. Was it a rougher night last night for Netflix or Aaron Judge? The broadcast or Aaron Judge?
Judge.
I think it was Judge, too, because that wasn't Judge's first baseball game.
No.
That was Netflix's
Netflix's
first broadcast. It was rough at times. I understand what they were trying to do with some of the things that were happening in the baseball game, and they were trying to distract you in the baseball game and try to add some entertainment while the baseball game was going along. But it was rough at times. It did buffer in the first inning for me a number of times, and it's I've got Google Fiber. I'll have 4 or 5 TVs going with Google Fiber, and it doesn't buffer. So that wasn't an internet thing last night, at least for me. I don't know if anybody else. My brother, same thing. He's like, dude, it's just buffering the whole time. I'm like, yeah, dude, first inning it kept. After that, it was fine. I don't know if that was something with them. I don't know if that was just maybe randomly he and I were the only ones, and we just happened to be on a text thread, and it's like, no, it keeps pausing and buffering for me as well. That may be just a random thing there. Not a big deal. There's streaming everywhere in today's day and age, but we'll see what the analysts look like. I had higher hopes for Barry Bonds. This is just sort of a random. Yeah. I had higher hopes for Barry Bonds, and it was the first broadcast, so I will certainly give him benefit of the doubt the more and more broadcasts they have, and if he's used more and more. Because if you ever watch videos of Barry Bonds talking about baseball and talking about like the intricacies of hitting and fielding and some of those things that you get from analysts when plays are happening or this guy hits, it was either Hudler or it was a national analyst that I can't remember. I wish I knew if it was Hudler specifically. But Michael Garcia had a home run down the left field line on a pitch that almost hit him in the waist. And just going through the breakdown of how he was able to even keep that thing fair with the top hand and the work it was doing there and getting the body inside and getting the hands inside, that if this one thing happens, he's going to hook that around the left field pole, and it's like, that's a foul ball. It's a long strike. But somehow he did that, and it's such a rare thing for a player to have that hand-eye coordination, that barrel through the zone that long, and to keep that thing fair with the work of the top hand. And that's amazing. I love that. Yeah. And I think the more and more he does that, he was pre and post, not in the booth.
Sure.
So it's different. I think maybe he might have been miscast in that. But I was excited about what we were going to get from Barry Bonds. And it was just like Max Fried was really good. He kept them off balance. Well, they were really off balance in the game.
Tom Brady was that his first year, too.
That's right.
Where it went like, he's going to give us this great insight. And he does when he's not on this big platform. And he gets on the big platform, and it's almost, I have to give the cliches. Yep. And then the year 2 or the just growth that we saw from Tom, I try and give some grace. I'm still
excited about I think Barry could be really good.
I give a lot of grace to people who do this for their first time specifically because it's rare when someone comes on and, again, Romo was almost the opposite where he came on very strong and then has I don't know if regressed is the right word. I thought he was better this year.
I think he came on and it was so fun and interesting and new that he then got so fully embraced in that sort of shtick.
Yeah.
And then now he's become a caricature of what the first couple of years of Tony Romo was.
Sure.
And like the little points, you're like, I love this about him. I love that about him. And now it's like that's all he's doing.
Yeah. It
things
became overshadowed by the, I don't know.
This is amazing. We'll see. So yeah, just some general takeaways last night. And look, it's going to be more and more in baseball like it is in the NFL. Like you got to find the location of where your team is playing. I mean, the Royals on Friday and Saturday going to be on the regular Royals TV, and on Sunday is going to be on Channel 5, KCTV. So it's going to be for free. If you don't pay for the Royals TV this year, you don't have DirecTV or some of the cable networks distributors, then, and you don't pay for that, well, or Monday, not Sunday, sorry, Monday home opener will be on Channel 5 on KCTV for free over the air. Bunny ears. Go do that. So 913-912-4810. We'll talk some college basketball today, obviously, with the Sweet 16 in action. We got that for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I want to hear from, at some point, probably in the noon hour, we'll hear from Ben McCollum and Fred Hoiberg previewing tonight's game. And, Fred Hoiberg just talking about, he was asked have you taken some time to soak in the history of what your team was able to accomplish in those two games, 2 more wins than Nebraska had ever had. The farthest any Nebraska basketball team has ever gone. You did that just by making the weekend. Now you're playing another week. The entire state's going to be in Houston. The state of Iowa is going to be in Houston. It's Sterling, you're familiar with this. It's youth sports. 2 teams from the same area traveling 8 hours away to play each other. And that's Iowa and Nebraska traveling to Houston to play each other. They've already played twice. They split their home and home. Now they get the neutral site. And that's as neutral as it's going to get down in Houston.
Yeah.
And I love CJ Moore on Monday with the New Day and said the fewest fans in attendance he thinks will be the Houston Cougar fans. That there will be more Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois fans in attendance than Houston fans. And I actually believe that because I think whatever tickets were available when Nebraska won on Saturday, they probably just started getting snatched up quickly. Just bought. Iowa wins. Whatever's left, I'm buying it. We're going. We're in the Sweet 16 for the first time in 26 years, and it's year 1 of Ben McCollum. And it's last year of Bennett Sturts. Let's get and surround this team and embrace them because you can go down to Houston for the whole weekend. Make a plan for Thursday, Saturday. If they lose, then head back Friday. Cancel your hotel, head back Friday. But then you can stay and watch one of these teams playing tonight will be playing on Saturday to go to the Final Four.
However much Busch Light Houston has, they don't have enough.
Yeah.
Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois, the Big Ten schools, they are going to drink you out of Busch Light.
The corn versus crops.
It is going to be so much fun to watch. Illinois a little less so because, 1, Mizzou, and 2, Illinois has at least had some success, relatively speaking. Iowa and Iowa's just fun because the storyline, and Nebraska obviously with never winning a March Madness game ever, and then doing this, it just makes it easy to root for. And then Houston's a little different team this year too. They're a little better offensively. Maybe not quite as, when I say not quite as good offensively, they're still damn good, but it's not Jamal Shed, and they're like 1 step back, but they're maybe 2 steps forward offensively, which is kind of fun.
You add Flemings, and that certainly helps.
That helps a ton. I mean, this group of teams, as the storylines are incredible. Texas Purdue might be the most boring of the games.
I mean, yeah, it might be.
I mean, because Arizona Arkansas is a match of styles of. Arkansas, we're just going to rip threes. We're going to shoot a ton. Arizona's like, hey, we're going to be bigger than you, more physical. Which style's going to – they still play quick, though. It's not like Arizona's slow.
This is going to be a fun one in contrasting styles to a degree. Arizona can knock down threes. Burry's is good. Bradley, it's not really his game, but they've got some guys that can hit threes.
I think it was 200 more threes hit by Arkansas.
But this may be one of those games of the calculus of basketball. Is Arkansas going to make so many more threes to offset what should be the dominant paint for Arizona today? I mean, Ewing and Brazil are fine. They're good inside players.
Yeah.
But the size of Arizona and their play in the post should overwhelm those particular players with the length and how wide they are, how big they are. And Koa Pete can step outside and score and do different things, right? And Krivas' defense is, I think, Brazil's typically longer than anybody that he's going up against with his length and then, bounce. And you've got one of the best defensive players in America in the paint. You're going to have a team that's going to be so inside the paint and a team that's focusing there versus an Arkansas team that wants to spread it, run, and shoot threes. And you've got 3 stud freshmen on the floor in this one with Acuff, Thomas, and Burries.
I'm very intrigued to see how much Krivas plays.
Yeah,
because if you think about it, who's he going to guard? Brazil?
I think he'd guard Ewing if he's out there.
You think Ewing? Because
Ewing
he can't guard Brazil.
Yeah, Ewing doesn't go and go out to the 3.
Go out as much, but and then defensively, do you put Brazil, who's very lanky and who can get up and has that bounce?
I put him on Koa Pete, but then you put Pete down on the block.
On the block, This is just
it's fun.
This matchup is one where you could see so many different scenarios. Koa Pete does remind me a little bit. Do you remember? Was it Hachimura?
Oh yeah, Rui
Hachimura.
Lakers.
A little bit of him. He can shoot now. He couldn't shoot in college really at all. He's grown there. But he does remind me a little bit of Koa Pete. Just a little bit of that style.
So that's coming up tonight. There'll be some fun games in action. Kansas City kids will be all over the court tonight in Houston. That's really fun as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. And, we can also look at some of the things locally. Like we've talked about how good some of the players in Kansas City are. And just to draw a comparison and draw a connection, you've got, Kansas City, you got the Roos that hire Turgeon. And what have they done? They specifically went out and got Kansas City kids to go there. Kansas City high school kids that are now playing at UMKC. Like the first recruiting classes, KC. Kansas City kids transfer from here, come back home.
And dude named Casey.
That's exactly right.
Casey Concepcion.
Yep. K.C. Casey. All different types of spelling of Casey's. Kacey. Kasie. Like all different types of Casey's that they have, which is really cool. I've thought that, there was that opportunity that the local team could invest and say, we are going to focus on the kids around here. Because, again, there will be a time tonight on the floor, half the players in the Nebraska-Iowa game will be from the Kansas City area on the floor. There will be a time tonight when Sturtz, Banks, Manyewu, Isaiah Howard, and Braden Frager are on the floor at the same time for Nebraska and Iowa.
And none went to Mizzou.
That is true. Liberty, Frager originally from Liberty. Dad was the head coach at Pembroke Hill. Then they moved to Lincoln, so now technically he's a Lincoln kid.
Sure.
But, around Liberty, you got Ruskin with Banks, you got Staley with Manyawu and Plattsburgh. I count Plattsburgh. It's in the listening area.
Yeah.
That's Kansas City with Isaiah Howard. And then after that, you got Keaton Wagler from Shawnee Mission Northwest is going to be on the court for Illinois against Houston. So some awesome Kansas City kids that are there playing, and to the point of what we're talking about with drawing it back to the area and maybe what the Roos can do. I mean, I think UMKC probably had an opportunity to get Sturtz and Banks and Manyewu and Isaiah Howard and go to Kansas City and play for the Roos. So you focus on that and the players that are like, well, Manyewu is going to Wyoming. Well, Banks is going to a JUCO. Sturtz is going to Northwest Missouri State.
I was going to say, that's the one to me is, can you get those Northwest Missouri State kids? Because you're D1.
I don't know anything. I don't know of Bennett Sturtz recruiting, and I don't know if UMKC would have offered him if he'd have gone and stayed home in Kansas City, or it was, no, I want to go play for Ben McCollum at Northwest and what he's got building there.
And because they were such a good D2 school,
Yes,
I mean, it was probably close. I know one's D1, one's D2.
But maybe UMKC didn't even recruit him.
Yeah, who knows?
Like, who knows?
But
right?
but I do think that's a great example of, hey, Northwest Missouri State, if you can play there, you clearly can play.
I've said that
D1.
Maryville, Missouri is just like New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Okay? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Let's get into some baseball. I know we talked a little bit about the Yankees and Giants and the San Francisco Tigers. with his first game as a major league manager. It was a rough one, but it was a rough one for Webb ultimately. We'll talk about the Royals' 26-man roster. I think there's a bigger picture with the 26-man roster and the decision that was made yesterday, but was sort of made, I think, on Monday or even over the weekend with Michael Massey. But what this last week was for the Royals' 26-man roster and what the bigger picture view is of what JJ has done in his time as the GM. And I think it is setting up for what could be an awesome 3 or 4 year run. I hope that's the case. We'll talk about what I'm getting into coming up next. All right, man, if you're out there and you happen to be suffering from erectile dysfunction, then no need to wait around and hope that, it can work itself out. I mean, maybe it happened once or twice, no big deal. You move on. You think that it's going to get better. Maybe you've tried the pills or the herbals and they have failed. Well, if that happens, Heartland Men's Health, that's the spot for you. They have treatments that work when that happens. Sometimes the most difficult part for men is just saying, all right, let me just go get this figured out. Heartland Men's Health, they have been successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. It's what they do. It's men's health. It's their livelihood to the more holistic approach of all types of men's health. It could be low testosterone that's affecting that. It could be diet that's affecting that. It could be stress that's affecting that. It could be a lot of things going on, many underlying conditions that can cause that. They have treatments with success rates well over 90% at Heartland Men's Health. Schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit, it's only $99. That includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit, it's free. If it does, there you go. They have an expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Michael, what sports did you play in high school? Junior high?
I played basketball.
Yeah.
Shocker. I didn't play football. I
You
should
didn't
have played football.
Really? Okay.
That's the most surprising thing
But
here.
you played football, though, right?
Well, I was bad at soccer, but I played it for
There you go.
a while growing up. That was one of.
You played it more than I did.
You didn't play soccer?
No.
Okay. My mom was
No.
a huge soccer fan, so
Really?
I played soccer growing up, and basketball was the sport that I loved. And then I wasn't allowed to play football.
Yeah.
Oh,
Same.
really?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, that I see that. Yeah, that makes.
But Darcy looks like Leo Chanel out here. I feel like he would have been.
Darcy would have been Roman. Darcy would have been pucking. Darcy would have been a high school guard. That's a really good, dominant high school guard.
I was a lot pudgier in high
That's
school.
what I said. I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know.
He knows. He looked at your yearbook, dude. He went to your house and stole it.
Kid doesn't have it.
Part of the hiring process is looking through high school yearbooks.
Everyone knows this.
Yes, duh.
He has all mine.
Yeah, because you went to high school at where?
Well, I was actually homeschooled.
That's what I said. Yeah, so your mom sent me the pictures of you.
Exactly.
So when you
with
do
yearbook.
your yearbook, it's just
Yearbook.
you in there.
Just it's just he's going around the yearbook day to sign, and he's going to his mom to sign. His
Yeah.
mom's like, "Can't wait to see you next summer.
already got my
Let's
brother's
meet
autograph.
at the pool a couple times."
He
Yeah,
somehow won all the superlatives. Most likely to succeed, best eyes.
I got beat out though for class president.
by your brother.
My brother.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Where would you have played sports then? Where did you play sports if you were homeschooled?
Well,
Backyard.
so
Well,
I was
no, you
part
can-
of different club teams in the
Yeah.
Kansas City area, but I know you're not going to like this. I would have gone to Rockhurst,
Well, and you didn't, so that's why you were hired.
and I didn't.
So
Bucatey's backyard with his little
Heck
football
yeah, dude.
field he has.
yes, imagine if you would have
That's
gone.
where the homeschool kids
Imagine
go.
where you'd be now if you'd have gone to Rockhurst. Not sitting right there. I know that. 913-912-4810. Let's talk about the Royals' 26-man roster. We know the final decision was Lofton, Tolbert, Waters, Massey.
Yeah.
And Massey goes on the IL. That helped him. So then they 2 out of 3. They needed to figure out Lofton, Tolbert, and Waters. They DFA Drew Waters. And I wondered if it was going to be Drew Waters. Andy Rogers is pretty plugged in, and her final roster projection had Waters and Lofton simply because there were no options left for Drew Waters.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, maybe they'll start the season with Waters with no options left. But what would happen then is if you went with, let's say they go, Waters and Nick Lofton. And so if you go Waters and Nick Lofton, who's the guy to come off the bench and steal a base and be a pinch runner late in the game? They don't have that guy. If it's not, let's say, Tyler Tolbert.
Yeah.
Because Blanco is not on the team. So they moved on from Blanco when they got Starling Marte. I thought they would move on from Drew Waters when they got Starling Marte. When they moved on from Blanco getting Starling Marte, I thought, okay, because they're going to keep Drew Waters around.
Sure.
And Drew Waters is going to be on this team to start the season. Not the case. They went with Tyler Tolbert, who does have a better bat than Dairon Blanco, and also was 21 of 23 last year in stolen bases. So I like the fact that they went Tyler Tolbert over Drew Waters. He can play in the infield. He can play in the outfield. Lofton has a lot of different versatility as well. Massey can play in the infield. He'll play the outfield as well. So you were choosing between sort of the same. Waters was the only one that couldn't play in the dirt.
Sure.
The other guys could. So you were choosing between sort of the same guys. But Tolbert offers something that the other 3 don't.
Well,
And they don't have that on this team off the bench.
I would agree, and it sounded like Lofton was, to me, more firmly in. It was pretty much between Tolbert and Waters, right? I feel like Lofton with his spring training,
I think that's probably right.
it seemed more like Lofton was and you know my thoughts, I've been a little more out on Lofton than most people. I just don't, it's not a knock on him. I'm not trying to, he seems more like a quad A guy.
They're let's be honest. Their last spot they're choosing between 4A players.
Yeah, and
Drew
so
Waters is your,
I feel like we've been fooled by Lofton too many times of look at his AAA numbers or look at spring training or look at this stretch, and then he gets called up and it's, that's not good. But he can play a lot of positions, so you do have the versatility. I do like Tolbert for the stolen base aspect of it. That to me made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would have considered Waters over Lofton because Tolbert can play infield already and outfield. So it's not like you really now defensive and outfield's not great with Tolbert. We've seen that before.
But they've got Lane Thomas and Marte and Isbell, so they've got other options. Because last year was Isbell, and if he was out, it was Tolbert.
Correct. And
I was
so
like, oh my God.
you have enough guys in the outfield that you don't really need Lofton to play outfield. You don't really need that.
And you don't need Tolbert.
And so, and Tolbert to play.
That's
and so,
the main thing.
I would have potentially, again, and we're splitting hairs between, quad A guys almost, but I would have gone with Waters for the switch hitting potential. And again, Waters has been one of those guys that I can not quit.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I just can't quit you.
I've been a Waters guy for a long time. Even when he was in Atlanta, I was a big Drew Waters guy. I don't know why. It just, when you see him swing, you see all of the intangibles. Drew Waters.
But he's just never been able to put it together for a consistent time.
It's almost like MJ Melendez to an extent where I get why you why you give him so many chances.
You can see the tantalizing player that's there with the different tools that never materialize when you put the third deck up there.
Correct. And then with Drew Waters was a lot of the same thing because you see him in AAA and you're like, oh man, both sides, stealing bases, solid defensively, get to the majors, and just wasn't the case. But I will also point out, I never thought that Drew Waters got a super fair shake last year was a better opportunity, but he never was a consistent guy. Mm-hmm. And if you're ever going to give a guy consistent at-bats, they should have done it more in 23 and 24. By the time I got to 25, it was kind of too late.
So my bigger picture view on this as to why I find myself being way more excited, even when we're talking about just the final couple of spots. And the final couple of spots, to me, emphasize where this team is compared to years past. And when we get into like training camp or spring training or things like that, and we hear coaches say, well, we've got a competition at this spot. Every job is open. You know what job is not open if healthy for the Chiefs? The freaking quarterback.
Yeah.
That ain't healthy. That's not open. Okay, that job is taken. And if you're you know what job, if healthy, is not open? The center, the right guard, right? Those are things that the starting tight end now. Okay, starting defensive tackle 3 technique. There's no competition there. So it's a way to couch it of like, well, every job we have competition's good to a degree. But what separates this team to me versus years past, and definitely 23 and before, is that when we're talking about, well, there's competition on this team, it was competition for the last spot in the bullpen and the third and fourth bench player.
Yeah.
The 25th and 26th player. There wasn't competition at first base. It's Vinny. There wasn't competition at catcher. It's going to be Salvi and Carter. There's not competition on the left side of the infield. It's Michael and it's Bobby. There wasn't competition at second base because they made the mistake last year with moving India around at second base. So you re-sign him and say, maybe it's the Pacheco hope as the strategy.
Sure. That
India's going to figure it out if he's just left alone. There's no competition there. Center field, it's Isbell, unless maybe there's a tough lefty like Chris Sale tomorrow night. Then maybe it's Lane Thomas. Right field, it's Cags with a weak side platoon in Starling Marte,
which is
in
interesting
right field
with Marte because he's good at hitting righties too.
Yeah,
and so you don't really need if you want to make the case, that's why Drew Waters didn't make, because it's not like Marte struggles with righties.
And Collins is already a switch hitter. Marte's a righty, Thomas is a righty, Isbell lefty, Cags lefty. But your starting staff, 1 through 5, there was no competition unless there was an injury.
Yeah.
That to me shows how good a team is when you're going into spring training and you're going, how many jobs are actually open and up for grabs? 3. Not 7 or 8. Hell, we don't even know who's going to be our starting insert position here. And if you're trying to have a competition for who's going to even start at a couple of positions that the Royals have had in years past, it shows you the lack of depth and it shows you the lack of high end from the guys in your 26-man roster of who's going to be there and how many probably 4A players that you have on your roster. And that's different this year.
I'm not surprised, but slightly surprised. They didn't go with someone who had options on the hitting side. They said, hey, we think Tolbert makes us better. So, Waters, I know you're out of options. I'm sorry, we're going to have to release you.
I mean, in theory, they could get him back and assign him to AAA. If
they could. They could. But the point is, a lot of times we've seen the Royals in the past go, well, they have options, so we're gonna send him down and keep a guy who's lesser than. But they didn't do that on the pitching side.
That's true.
On the pitching side, they kept up Billy Falter, and it was
Alex Lang.
Alex Lang, because he was out of options. We thought he had options, and it turns out he does not have options. Instead of Avila, instead of Steven Cruz. I think Cruz was the biggest surprise to me. I'm pretty surprised by that. So they did it on the hitting side, position player side, pitching side. They went, and maybe it's the strategy of pitching. You expect.
I think, and I wonder, Sterling, if you keep Cruz down in AAA so that he can pitch more high leverage situations, as opposed to if you switch Cruz and Lang, who's the game's out of hand, let's bring in somebody to eat innings guy. I think that should be Lang on this team. Maybe it's Falter, Lang or Falter, those guys that are in the bullpen, because I don't want that to be.
Falter's your long inning guy.
Yeah, but I don't want. Yeah, because they're going to try to keep him stretched out just in case. But it's like how often is Lang going to be thrown in high leverage situations? Maybe if it's 4 games in 4 days. And you've had Urseg and Estevez pitching and Strom is pitched, and you're like, we only have one of those guys available tonight. So, hey, now you may have to go to Lang.
It'll be Sam Long.
To extra innings.
The right-handed Sam Long.
So do you want Cruz to fill that role of it's going to be a little more mop-up, he's down towards the end, or do you have more faith in Cruz as a better reliever that let's put him in AAA because if Estevez doesn't figure it out, you might need to have somebody with some stuff come up and be in the bullpen if you need to make the decision of Urseg or Strom to pitch the ninth.
Yeah, the bullpen to me is a wild card this year from the Royals because with Estevez doing that, with Urseg looking a little questionable last year at times, strikeouts down, all that stuff. It was a little interesting of a year. Strom, I think you trust because he's been doing it for a long time now. But the bullpen to me is a lot of variance. I thought we'd be a little more set. But again, with Lang and Falter, not Cruz, not Avila, I would have felt way more comfortable with Avila and Cruz versus those two guys.
Well, that may be what they end up going to. Like if they're in a pennant chase this year, which they should be.
They should be.
They want Avila to be a starter, which is fine. The Brewers wanted Mizorowski to be a starter, and he comes out of the bullpen, and now he's opening day, right?
Yeah.
So we see that they wanted Chris Bubich to be a starter, but Chris Bubich came back from Tommy John and was amazing in the bullpen. Okay, so you can go that route, make it through the season, and get towards July, August into September and go, well, this guy's out. So, Avila, you're coming in to be a 7th, 8th inning guy. Cruz, we're bringing you up, and we're moving on from Lang or whoever else. I mean, because also Schreiber, like you hope Schreiber continues to be the guy that he was. But bullpen is such a year-to-year job. Like you don't know what you're going to get from one year to the next. Who was the awesome lefty that they had a few years ago?
Tim Collins.
No, that came out of nowhere, and he was mowing people
Jake
down.
Brents?
Yeah, Brents. And then he got injured, and we haven't heard from him since. You know, McCarthy was a guy that was,
James
McCarthy and McCarther. Both
McCarther was great until he got a walk-in song. It was White Horse by Chris Stapleton, and the second he got a walk-in song, he went to bleep.
Yeah, and he's been injured, and he's still injured. Like, I mean, it's just been constant with him. You never know from one year to the next. So the positive part, Sterling, is that I do think they actually have a couple of options in AAA that if they have to go to get somebody with some stuff that can get you strikeouts, they've got, I think, 2 guys down there, righties, that can immediately come in and do that.
And if you get closer, you have Ryan Bergert or Stephen Kolak if you know
he's healthy.
Yeah, but just later in the season as far as guys. I mean, the depth is great. It's just putting the pieces together with if they're starters or bullpen guys.
Well, and I think, and we'll take a time out with this, and we're going to hear from Chris Atkins and get you ready for the Sweet 16 tonight. I think the difference is, and maybe the bigger picture that I'm getting at is, instead of deciding like, okay, who's even going to be on our 26-man roster and making 4 and 5 and 6 different decisions there like we've seen in years past, their bigger decisions are who's 35 to 40 on the 40-man roster.
Yeah.
And that's a huge difference for a team that's trying to win up to 90 games or more to go and win a division or, you know, make the playoffs. So that's a real positive. We'll see what health does, but they are deeper than they've been in past to be able to handle the health just as long as it doesn't start to stack up. That's always the fingers crossed, and you never know what's going to happen. You just hope for health and let the chips fall where they may. Like I said, every season, no matter the sport, let's turn injuries off on Madden or the show, and let's see what happens. We'll take a timeout, come back, and we'll get you ready for what we will see, what happens tonight with the Sweet 16. More Zone coming up next.